Hello there, people of the internet. I was asked to go ahead and show off the Rossi R92 a little bit more thoroughly. I have made several videos on these rifles before, and in those videos I cover in-depth history on lever actions in general, starting with what is essentially the start of this system, the lever action Henry. There are some differences between the lever action Henry and the Volcanic series that came before it, so before you go yelling at me in the comments about, XYZ thing as to how the Volcanic was the start, the Henry was the first cartridge firing lever action, and so I consider that the start. It's debatable, go debate me in the comments below. But the R92 is actually based off of the 1892 pattern of lever action, as opposed to something like the Henry lever action, the original 1860 Henry. And there was an original toggle-locked system. This right here actually has a pair of locking bars on it, and it is heavily based off of the previous 1886 pattern of rifle, which was the same exact sort of system, just on a much larger scale. Those locking lugs there were actually intended to be able to allow that toggle-locked system to be much, much stronger than it originally was. And so as a result, you could use much more powerful ammunition than the original prior example of 1876, I believe. I have a lens cap here in my pocket, and it is just getting in the way. I'm going to swap pockets real quick. But I have shown off several of these Rossi R92 lever actions. They have always ran very, very well. I haven't had a problem with them. I have always, every single time, had to zero them out of the box. But I've ran a variety of different kinds of ammunition through them. I had blued versions, I have stainless steel versions, I had 357/38 special rifles along with 44 mag/44 special rifles. I've used them both. They're both incredibly accurate out at long distances. I brought them out to 100 yards, and I can make hits regularly with them. Personally, I think this one right here is my preference. This is my 357 Magnum lever action, stainless steel. And with this being a stainless steel, this is very impervious to rust. As a matter of fact, I have used this one very regularly here in the state of Florida, where it's very humid and things tend to rust just from looking at them, and this right here does not have a speck of rust on it. The wood's got some scars and whatnot just from general use and general wear, and that is simply because I use this lever action for a variety of different purposes, but not a speck of rust anywhere on this thing, so I am very pleased with that. If you enjoy lever actions like this right here, such as the history and development or the general usage of it, then you are among the right crowd. So I'm going to ask you to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more stuff about not just lever actions, but a variety of different firearms, which are consistently being shown off on this YouTube channel. So, like I said, this right here is heavily based off of the 1892 pattern. There are going to be some differences, mostly safety mechanics and minor things. For our Rossi, we actually have a safety built directly into the back of the bolt right here, and all that does is that blocks our little firing pin from being able to move forward. And we can see that whenever we lower the hammer down, and the hammer does not push the firing pin all the way forward, protruding into the chamber. This right here is a very, very good safety mechanism to prevent anything from being set off. As long as that safety mechanism is employed, that firing pin can literally not go forward unless this is like broken or something. And since that firing pin cannot go forward, even whether or not it's hit by the hammer or a stick or some sort of debris or some sort of something, that firing pin's not going forward because it is physically blocked by that safety, so it will not detonate a cartridge. The original 1892 designs did not have that sort of thing. You only had like a safety notch right here, so if a piece of debris or something got in there and managed to hit that firing pin with enough ferocity, that rifle would still go off, and that is a thing of the past with this new updated design of safety feature. Besides that, this right here is pretty gosh darn close to the original design. The sights are a little bit different in design. There's some very minor differences in general aesthetics between the rifles, but like I said, for the most part, they are pretty much on par with the original 1892 design. This right here is an incredibly strong action that is technically designed for black powdered systems, although it is significantly more powerful than most of your black powder designs are going to be. This right here is absolutely a design that is capable of sustaining smokeless powder. The only reason why this right here is still a black powder design is because it was designed before smokeless powder was even an existent thing. This locking system came about in 1886. Whenever I believe it was John Browning who actually came up with this design. He came up with these two locking lugs that actually go into the bolt itself. If I open our lever action here, you can see those locking lugs drop down below the bolt. Those two locking lugs hold the bolt in place, and that is dramatically stronger of a system than the original toggle lock system, which was only held closed by basically your hand holding the lever action closed, which is not something that is all that strong of a system in compared to a lock bar system like this. On the Model 94, you have essentially the same idea concept of a system, except the lock bar is on the very back of the bolt, and there is a firing pin that protrudes through the lock bar itself. It's one single lock bar as opposed to two. And that firing pin protruding through the lock bar needs to be fully locked in battery to line up with the hammer, and so that is a good out of battery detonation safety. It is also significantly easier to manufacture a system than something like this two locking bar system. All of that being out of the way, there are many Henry lever actions out there that are fed from the front of the magazine tube up here next to the muzzle. However, the Rossi R92 is obviously heavily based off of the Winchester design, and this does have the Kingsgate on it. And so as a result of having that Kingsgate, somewhere around here, if I can find my ammunition in my pockets, you are able to load rounds directly into the receiver and thus into your magazine tube. I have had these have pretty gosh darn stiff springs, and the rounds do occasionally get caught on something in there. I'm still yet to figure out what. And so as a result, until they get properly broken in, these right here can be a little bit more on the difficult side to feed. Our extractor is on the top of the bolt, so that makes for an easy replacement if you ever find yourself having a broken extractor. I only have a couple of 38 special rounds loaded into this thing, but I think that's going to serve just fine for the representation purposes of sending some lead down range. Now, one thing I really like about our 38 special cases here is that they are reloadable. I think it was in 1873 whenever Winchester came out with their new pattern of lever action rifle, which fed the 4440 cartridge, which was a centerfire cartridge. And that centerfire cartridge, being much more powerful than the 44 Henry rimfire that came before it, was also reloadable. The 44 Henry rimfire had 28 grains of black powder inside of it, I do believe, and the 4440, of course, had 40 grains of black powder inside of it. So not quite double the charge, probably another 50% increase, a little bit more than 50%. You're having additional 12 grains of black powder in that thing, and so as a result, you have a significantly more powerful cartridge. Still not a rifle cartridge. I would still consider that one to be a handgun cartridge, but it is definitely powerful enough for that time period, especially considering what predated it. So here is our little look into our Rossi lever action. I know on the Model 94 there's another little safety which is not present on this because this is a 92 model. There's another little safety that is actually designed to where you have to completely and fully close your lever to depress that safety in order for the rifle to actually go off. This does not have that. This right here definitely is lacking in the number of safeties in comparison to that Model 94, but this right here is very revolutionary for whenever it had came out. This being the 92 model, this is actually just the downscaled version of the 86. Of course, the 1873 was still incredibly popular by the time that this right here had come out, but this was a stronger system, a more modern system. So although this system was designed for much larger calibers in the 1886 rifles, it was still good to have a carbine version with this newer technology out there on the market for the people that wanted it. So you didn't have to necessarily go with your 1873 toggle lock system. You could now go with your 1892 very, very strong actioned sort of system. So hopefully you guys enjoyed watching my little presentation on the Rossi R92. I always like bringing this thing out. All I did was just send a couple of rounds down on my grill there. I had a mixed bag of ammunition that I've been basically just burning off over time. So if you guys enjoyed this, then like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off, have yourself a fantastic day. I will see you guys on the next episode. Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. The poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.